Let me ask you this: if there's one moment in your life you could point to that you think has allowed you to be where you are today, what would it be?
I'll give you two. I remember a couple of player personnel guys that work for the Lions and the Seahawks. Mo Kelly with the Seahawks, shout out to Mo Kelly. And then Galen Duncan with the Lions. They both said to me, when you're done with football, you'll be able to make more money outside of the game than you did in it. And I couldn't even fathom what they were saying. I'm like, what, bro? I'm making millions of dollars running routes. Like, no, life isn't ever going to get much easier than this. And what they were saying was, if you took like being in media seriously, like there is some space and opportunity there. And at the time, I was working in media. I was doing stuff for each team that I was on, whether it was their own specific show, like the Lions pregame show, or doing radio hits for the Seahawks. But I think they all saw this like budding talent, and they're like, bro, if you just cultivate this, like there's some real money out there, especially by the time you retire. So that was like the seed that got planted. And then I went to the broadcast boot camp, and I was there. And at this time, I was maybe year 9 or 10, really at the tail end of my career. I could see like the light at the end of the tunnel. It was bright. I understood my career was almost over. And at that time, they would like crown, like, not really crown, but they would say who was a standout. And because I'd essentially been doing media every year since I got in the league, I was comfortable in front of the camera. You know, I can read the teleprompter. I can even script a little bit. So I stood out amongst, you know, the other applicants that were there. But when we did the live game, it wasn't a live game, but it was like a demo of calling a game, and I was doing the color commentating. It was an exercise we all did, and we were prepared for it. They're like, hey, tomorrow we're gonna call this game. Here's a roster if you wanna look at it. I had no idea how difficult it was. So I'm in my room the night before, and I kind of peek at the roster. I'm like, it's a game from this previous season. How hard can it be? And it was difficult, and I struggled. That's when
Especially
I realized.
if you don't know the roster.
Especially if you don't know the roster. And that's when I realized how difficult it was to do color commentating. And I was being perfectly set up by in-game guy. Like they brought all the big dogs in. And just like they would during any regular game, he was just alley-ooping me every single play. All right, 1st and 10, Ben Roethlisberger drops back, and it's caught. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, yeah, I get it is caught. It's caught, and see that what the play when he ran the slant, and so back to you. I did that for about 30 minutes, and at the end of the broadcast boot camp, they were all saying, "Good job, good job." I even met James Brown, and he's like, "Yo, you got an opportunity when you retire, man. Hey, keep my number, stay in touch. If you need anything, holla at me." But I kept thinking about botching that exercise. And I realized at that point, all of the charm and charisma and faking your way through something until you figure it out isn't going to work in real TV. You will get exposed quickly. And if that was me calling a real game, I probably wouldn't be called back. So it was like this like duplicity of like, good job, Nate. Like, you're really good on camera. And on the other side, it was like, hey, let me talk to you. Like, you're not as good as you think you are. And if you go into TV after you retire, start over. You're a rookie, bruh. Be a rookie, study like a rookie, learn from the best, and work your ass off. Those are the defining moments that help me get to where I am.
And it comes down to the preparation, too.
That's it, the preparation.
What are those negotiations like with TV networks? They ever get intense?
That's a good question. Yeah, they get intense. Shout out
Pay me my money.
Yeah, facts. You know what I'm saying? Show me the money. Shout out to Mark Lepselter. That's my guy. He's my agent. He represents me.
Your Mark reps me, too.
Yeah, of course. We do. You know, it's home team. But,
He's
you know,
the
he is. He works his ass off. He does a good job. I've been approached by every major firm. Some have seen the talent in me and been talking to me for a few years. Others, they have been sniffing around and they see the money, so they want to get on board. I'm just loyal to the soil, so you know I have these open conversations with Mark. I'm like, CAA called me, WME called me today. You know, I got invited to this place by that agency. So we have that open conversation. One, because we love to have that transparency. Two, a little bit, shout out to Mark, keeps him on his toes, you know what I'm saying? But nah, I'm not going anywhere. But I will say they do get intense. But I've learned though, everybody you work for, especially if you understand how much they are making on the back end, see, that's key. Understand how much your company, the organization, the overall brand is making and where that money is being distributed. And then you can kind of cross-reference that with how you're doing, your engagement, your rating, your Q rating, how people show up for you, how you do on social media. And then once you kind of create this equation, you'll be able to come up with a starting point of where you want to negotiate. And that's just the starting point. And you're never agreeing to where they start. Always stand firm and hold. I remember in the league, and I'm not sure if I shared this out loud before, but when I left the Seattle Seahawks, all right, so I finished my career with like 800 yards. I missed like the last 3 games because I had an ankle injury. They wanted me back, but they were just kind of hesitant. This was the transition between Holmgren and Mora and Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll came in, and I remember meeting him, and he's like, because I was still on the team at this point. He's like, "Oh, what's up, man? Yeah, nice to meet you." He kind of like sizes me up. He's like, "Yeah, you're bigger than I thought." And I'm like, all right, that wasn't like, wasn't like a confident interaction for me. Basically, he's like watching film of me and thinks I'm just a small dude.
Kind of condescending.
Yeah, exactly, a little bit, right? And then I meet the receivers coach, and he's like, "Yeah, man, good to see you, man. Yeah, I've been checking out some film, man. Yeah, man, this is gonna be a good year. We gotta work on that 50-50 ball." I'm like, the first thing you do is like criticize a 50-50 ball? You're not gonna compliment me on all the big plays or touchdowns, the great things I do well. And like those 2 interactions, that gave me the idea that Seattle, at least this coaching staff, they weren't gonna do backflips to get me back. So I remember being at Daniel's restaurant. Scott Linehan flew in, who coached me with the Vikings, was now the offensive coordinator for the Lions. And he's like, we want you in Detroit. We got this young receiver, Calvin Johnson. He's a beast. He's the sweetest guy in the world. I think you coming in with your attitude, you guys are gonna mesh well. You'll be able to learn from him. He'll be able to learn a lot from you. I think you'll be able to bring some other elements out of his game. You'll be a great compliment to him. This is all like at midnight because you can't really talk to teams at midnight. And my agent is there. So the whole idea was I'm going to negotiate with the Seattle Seahawks while talking to the office coordinator for the Lions, who's at the table, while my agent is on the phone with both teams. So Scott's like, "What's up, man? Sign with us." Like, come on, forget about Seattle. Like, if they wanted to sign you, they would have signed you. It's midnight. You're already a free agent. And so I'm like, yeah, I know, I feel you, but like. So Seattle comes in, they're like, all right, $9 million for like 3 years. Then Detroit comes in, $10 million. And now the numbers are going up. Now, okay, 4 years for 12. And they're going up. And then at one point, the Seattle Seahawks, they stopped picking up the phone. And we were stuck at a certain point. I want to say it was like 4 for around 14 or something like that with 9 guaranteed. And so my agent's like, "Hey, come here, let me talk to you." So we go out to the patio of the restaurant. And he's like, "Look," shout out to Ken Sarnoff. He's like, "Look, man, Seattle's not picking up the phone." I'm like, "What do you mean not picking up the phone?" He's like, "Man, after we hit like 9 million guaranteed, like they're not picking up the phone. So the reality is, like, I don't think they're gonna go any further. And to be honest, they might even pull back their offer because they think you're just too deep in with Detroit." I'm like, "Well, what's Detroit saying?" He's like, "They're stuck at the same number now." I'm like, "Well, is anybody from Seattle talking to the Detroit Lions?" He's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Well, as far as negotiating, like, do these guys talk to each other?" And he's like, "Nah, I don't think so. What are you getting at?" I'm like, "Well, how about this? How about you call Detroit back and you tell them that Seattle still is on the phone and they just offered another $1 million." He's like, I don't know about that, man. It's kind of, I don't know. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, what does it hurt?
Mhm.
Let's just use it as negotiation power.
Yeah.
So he was like,
It's all about leverage. You gotta
it's
get
all
the
about leverage.
Yeah.
So he calls Detroit back. He's like, yeah, Seattle's still on. They're still on the phone.
Mhm.
They still want Nate.
Yeah.
So what do you want to do? Because we're stuck.
Mhm.
In Seattle, in Detroit, they're like, all right, listen, we're going to add another $1 million
Yeah.
to the guarantee. So we're going to guarantee him $10 million.
Yeah.
So we kind of bluffed our way to
get more
another
money.
$1
Another
million
million.
in the guarantee.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me because now even when I'm negotiating in TV, you know, sometimes you gotta stand on business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially if you know your value.